Hello and welcome to Tartan Touchdown episodes. Weekly look back at all the weekend's NFL action. This week we feasted on some brilliant Thanksgiving games and a few interesting results across the rest of the slate of games. Before we get into that tonight, make sure you're subscribing to us on YouTube by hitting the subscribe button just below this video. Hit that bell on Spotify and the plus sign on Apple Podcasts to make sure you do not miss any of our podcasts going forward. Joining me this week to delve into the biggest stories of the weekend is Brian. Brian, how are you?
I'm very well, mate. How you doing?
Not too bad. It's been a few weeks since me and you were on together. I'm looking forward to shooting it with you.
Do you know what it has? We've actually, to my mind, I think we've only been on once together, mate. I think this is time two.
Whoever does that role needs to get a word said to them. I will speak to myself in the mirror later on.
Strong word.
Right, we're going to kick off this week's show in a slightly different way. So what we're actually going to do is going to look at the coaches this week than individual players. So Brian, earlier on we had a chat and we put together a list of 5 coaches who we believe are in the running for Coach of the Year. So we have agreed on 2 of them, and there's another 3 on that list that we're going to take you through. So what we're going to do to keep you in suspense is we'll take you through the 5, we're going to leave the 2 to the end that we think are our favourites to win the award. So Brian, I'm going to let you take the floor first with this one because both you and our good friend Stu have been making the case for this guy win the award. However, I just don't see it. Who's your first pick on this list?
It's Shanahan. It's got to be Shanahan with the 49ers. And no, not just because they gave the Browns an absolute doing yesterday. It's the classic example for me of a coach winning no matter kind of what's thrown his way. So you know what I mean? It's a bit of a cliche in the NFL, the idea that, it doesn't matter who gets injured, it's next man up. And that's nice and all. And it is kind of true to a point. But if you lose enough kind of big pieces on your team, there comes a point when next man up gets more and more challenging to kind of get away with. I mean, the Niners have been riddled with injuries all year. The defense is a shell of what Niners fans and Niners faithful out there thought they were going to get at the start of the year in the preseason. This is not the defense they thought they were going to be looking at. However, the good times keep rolling because they are sitting there 9-4. It's kind of ridiculous to say they're sitting there 9-4 and then not follow that up with and top of their division. That's just a testament to the NFC West. But they are 9-4. They have been through multiple quarterback starters. We have had Christian McCaffrey seems to just be like sucking the souls out of the other players in the Niners locker room to keep himself fit this year. But he's the only kind of blue chip piece that the Niners have consistently had all year. And what a blue chip piece to have. But it is a testament to Shanahan, to his coaching, to his ability to look at the full team, not just the starters, to look into the bench, to look into the practice squad, bring players in and say, right, let's keep this rolling. You know what I mean? It was the old joke back when Jimmy G started for the Niners that it wouldn't matter who you put in under quarterback, that because of the Shanahan system, they would keep winning. And I'm sorry, but that is what we've seen this year.
Yeah, that's the point I was actually going to make. You've stole the words out of my mouth. I was like, we spoke about when it became Brody coming in, it was like, is it him or is it the system? That's a debate that went on. Mac Jones has then come in and we're still having the same debate. But does that then apply to the other positions as well? As you just mentioned, there have been loads of injuries on that offensive side of the ball. Is it a case of, as long as you are a serviceable or decent enough running back or quarterback, wide receiver, you can fit into that system and perform?
I'm going to say, when it comes to the passing game, yes. I say it without a minute's hesitation. I don't think it's necessarily fair to say it in the ground game. I don't think anybody would ever call Christian McCaffrey another running back. But yeah, the wide receiver core that you go back to the preseason. Who did the Niners think their wide receiver 1 was going to be? You know, I mean, we were talking Brandon Ayuk, we were talking Pearsall, and no, it's not been. They have rinsed their way through 1,000,001. It feels like by this point. Different wide receiving options, and it seems to, Jesus, you go into any game week and it's like, who will the wide receiver 1 be this week? Who knows? Beyond Thurman saying you have got CMC, you have got George Kittle. Those are your offensive weapons, and even then, Kittle's missed time this year. It's not like we've had Kittle every single week, but they keep racking up wins, and they're not all against the Browns. As straightforward as it is to get a win against us these days. You know what I mean? They're sitting there with wins in LA. We've got wins against Seattle, the much vaunted Seahawks team. There's some softer ones in there as well. Yes, they beat the Giants. Woohoo! But still, you need to look at what the team does regardless of the situation they find themselves in. And it's a big testament to Shanahan. They're getting to walk into their bye week now pretty with 9 wins under their belt, just hoping to see someone else in the NFC West slip.
Yeah. I mean, I can't take out the 49ers yet. They are doing excellent. But you said they're third in their division. It's crazy when you're 9-4 with third in your division. It is mental position to be in. I'm not going to disagree with your argument for him. For myself, I just don't think he's going to win it. I just don't think I think there's other guys ahead of him in the queue, but I can see the argument on it. Let's have a quick look back. You mentioned the game there. So 49ers obviously beat the Browns 26-8 last night, and it was a fairly comfortable win for the Niners though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was straightforward enough. At the end of the day, the Browns can elect any 2 of 3 pieces of the team to play at a serviceable or better level in any given week. This week, the defense played well. The defense played well as it does most weeks. The offense was fine. It wasn't outrageously bad, and that's kind of the yardstick the Browns have been going for so far this year on offense. And then we just have the absolute joke that was special teams, and it was just a nonsense. And yes, you can say it was windy, and we can make all sorts of complaints if we want, but at the end of the day, when you've got muff punts gifting the Niners possession, I don't even know where it was something like the 15.
Yeah, very, very short field.
You can't be doing that, funny enough, against any team, let alone a good team. So, the Niners, they came, they saw, they beat the Browns. It's not a lot of doing. It doesn't take a lot of doing these days. But I do credit Shanahan. Do I think he'll walk away Coach of the Year? Maybe not. I certainly think he'll be in the conversation.
On the flip side, though, you mentioned the other Browns. Some parts start, some parts don't. Jador Sanders, 16 for 25, 149 yards, a touchdown. He didn't look too bad, did he?
It was okay. I would say that he looked. I think one of the big things that we need to remember, and I was enjoying it hugely last week. It was only team with an undefeated starting quarterback. Still the only team with an undefeated starting quarterback on the road. This is what I enter mega niche stats I'm just making up. He looked fine. See, when you remember though, he was a 5th round draft pick. He has practiced with the starters for a week, singular one. And that is it. Other than that, he has been playing against practice squad team all season so far. It's really, really obvious when you look back at the season as it's unfolded thus far. He wasn't even plan B. He was plan C. So he looked okay. I'm not going to say that he is the second coming and he is him, but he looked okay. We'll see how it goes on next week.
Also, you've got Dylan Gabriel back fit. Is he going to displace Shador? I think Shador's in for the rest of the season now. Where does the quarterback situation sits?
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's a case of, I think they've seen what Gabriel offers. Gabriel will be a backup quarterback around the league, probably for a number of years. I fully believe that. When he played for us, if you put him in a reasonably non-demanding system, he was okay. He's not going to take the top off a defense. He's not going to be creative enough to be your start or any of those types of things. And yes, I know he's played 6 starts or something like that. So it's not a lot of tape to judge a guy on. I think we've seen what we were going to see. Did they give Shador a similar-ish length of run just to see what they have in Shador? Does he look like he's got more ceiling at this point? Because that's all the Browns are looking for, is they know the floor they've got with Gabriel, and the floor's fine. If you're up well leading, you've got a good run game. Gabriel isn't going to lose you a game on his own. He's definitely not winning you a game, though.
One player who may win you games in the future I want to ask you about, and you're probably going to see this one coming because we had a good debate about this guy at the start of the season. Quinshon Judkins. 750 yards this season so far.
Now he's got cleats in the ground. Now he's got some cleats on the turf.
For those that have not watched any episodes this season, Brian made a prediction that Quinshon Judkins would not touch one cleat on the field. He's 758 yards later, there's been lots of cleats on lots of fields. Is he as good as you were hoping he was going to be?
I'd go so far as to say, again, do I think he'll win this? Probably not. I think there are better candidates, but I think he'll be in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He is an absolute set-in-stone starting option at running back. I'm going to say the list of teams around the league who would not have him as their running back one is not a very long list.
Yeah.
There's a handful of running backs, I would say, that are better than him in the league right now, and it's not many. He looks electric. He's really great. You watch the patience he's got when he's setting up behind the line of scrimmage, finding gaps, and then pure kind of, he's that good old-fashioned power running back. He's great trying to burst through the middle. He's looked really good, to be fair, last week, or this week, I suppose. He looked really good trying to break out onto the outside. It was something we were trying to obviously game plan quite a lot. The Niners are a good defense. You're not just abusing the Niners, even with the injuries. But no, yeah, he is the Nick Chubb replacement. That is exactly what he is. He's filling that role. Yeah, it looks like we've got a good in there.
Perfect. All right, let's move on to the next coach on your list. For those that are regular listeners and watchers, will probably not be surprised by your pick for your second one because you've not stopped talking about his team all season. So who's next on your list?
It is the one, the only Broncos. And you know, honestly, the big thing with me with the Broncos love this year and the coaches, and they have looked really, really questionable. Like, and it's weird because you watch the Broncos and you're like, oh, you really don't look great. And then you say, oh, it's a Sean Payton defense. No one's scoring. The defense has looked brilliant. And to be fair, the offense, it's weird. It doesn't make sense to me, this, because my eyes tell me that this offense isn't that great. But statistically, they actually are putting up numbers. So it's one of those ones that I struggle to get my head around a wee bit, like what's going on with the Broncos just generally. But Sean Payton, for me, he's got to be a stick-on for it. They are looking as set as any team to make a deep playoff run. And it is the thing, you know, they're 10-2. Bo Nix had a really good game last night. Bo Nix has been a bit up and down for me this year. I expected to see the tail end of last season Bo Nix at the start of this season, and we got the start of season Bo Nix at the start of the season. Isn't as impressive, but he does look like he's starting to pick it up a wee bit now. And yeah, you know what I mean? The Broncos, they're sitting at least 5 wins in the trot. So yeah, for me, Sean Payton, the Broncos are just solid. And that's the thing, I suppose, for me, is that when you actually look at it, they are a team, Jesus, it's way more than 5 games, as I've just double-checked. They've not lost since week 3. You know what I mean? They lost
9 games in a row.
They lost to the Chargers. And the Chargers are a decent outfit this year as well. That's it. So, for me, it's got to be Payton. They look like, I'll maybe live to regret saying this, I am going to say they look like probably the most complete team in the NFL at the minute. I struggle to think of a team that I would say that I don't immediately go, Abbott, what about this?
Yeah.
I think every other team that's doing well, I have quite a big concern about. And yes, we know, I've been banging the Broncos drum all year. And I'm going to stay on this drum. Because I do think the Broncos, despite what I say, despite me having kind of this weird mental barrier with their offense, I might not enjoy watching it as much as I maybe thought I was going to, but they are putting up numbers, they are clocking up wins, and yeah, that defense is absolutely terrifying.
I'm just looking at the numbers here, so as I mentioned there, they're 10-2. 10 of their games this season have been one-score games. But their 2 losses, 29-28, 23-20, so that was tight games. Then another 8 of their wins have been one-score games. So the only 2 games that weren't is they blew the Bengals out 28-3 and they blew the Cowboys out 44-24. Every other game they've been involved in has been a one-score game. And some of them are 1 and 2 points. It's not even, it's within a field goal. Now, that might be like, oh, they're struggling to win games, but on the flip side of it, that is a team that is winning games regardless. That is a game, as we kept saying about the Eagles, is just doing enough.
And so last year's Kansas City, was it? One-score games.
That shows you the belief in the team, and that comes from the coaching staff as well. I mean, last night, they went for, they played the Commanders last night and won 27-26. That game came down to 2 minutes left in overtime to win that game, and that became, you mentioned the defence. If nobody's seen it yet, spoiler alert, but the Commanders went for 2 to win the game, and Nick Benito just blitzed right through the middle of the team and batted down the pass from Mariota. That pass was going into the end zone. So that defense is ridiculous. I heard a stat earlier on about, I think it was a Chiefs fan actually posted this on Twitter, that Nick Benito's getting paid less than Chris Jones. Chris Jones has not had a double-digit sack season for 2 or 3 years, something along those lines. Why are we paying Chris Jones this money when Nick Benito's across there doing the exact same or a better job than him? So yeah, the Broncos, good performance last night. I mean, I've got to say, you said to Nick's, there was 1 touchdown pass that Nick's made. He was falling down. It was a Mahomes-esque. He literally kept his knee off the ground long enough to get the ball in the end zone to Courtland Sutton. They're just getting plays made. They're just doing things in games to get these games won. So the Broncos are well in control. They're currently number 1 in the AFC. Caveat, the Pats have still got to play tonight. As a kind of usual, for us, we record on a Monday, so the Pats haven't played yet. But they are sitting number 1 in the AFC. So they are doing well. At the game last night, we can't let that game pass without mentioning about Traylon Burks' catch. What a catch that was.
Nah,
To
it was
score the
incredible.
touchdown for Commanders. It was just ridiculous. He needs a shout out for that. But I'm going to, somebody we spoke about somebody just before we came on here, and I'm going to bring him up, and it's Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota had a good game last night. He starts 294 yards, 2 touchdowns. He rushed for 55 yards as well. There's a lot of QB teams going to be coming in this offseason, right? And there's not a lot coming out of college in terms of quarterbacks this year. Surely there's some teams, I don't know, somebody like a Jets that really have no identity at quarterback. They must be looking at somebody like Mariota and going, do you know what? Why not?
See, I don't know, but this is a bit for me then. If you are a Jets or Browns, for that matter, would you rather spend the year with a rookie that you try to give game time to and you try to develop him and you let him make mistakes and it'll be reasonably low pressure because you're the Browns, you're the Jets, you're the Giants. Well, not the Giants, they've got Jackson Dart. You know, you're one of these teams that's QB needing, and you know you'll be drafting high again the next year. So do you just go for it? Do you just bring in your rookie, let him learn the hard way? Or do you go for the Packers mentality of you bring in someone like Mariota and then you have your rookie, you let him sit behind someone who is Marcus Mariota, you know, Aaron Rodgers? No, he's not. But is he a seasoned vet in the league that a lot of rookies could learn a lot from? You've got to say, yeah. I don't think Marcus Mariota is going to be the saviour for any team, but do I think that he's got a lot that he could teach a rookie who would be sitting behind him trying to find their feet in the league? Yeah, I think that's a pretty good shout.
So the reason I'm asking the question is because coming out of college year, the quarterback class, 2027 class, is the quarterback class. So our team's going to go and take a quarterback this year that, I mean, Dante Moore out of Oregon's probably the best option, right? And there's Mendoza there as well from. So it's like, is there someone there that you want to go and make your starting quarterback? I don't think there is this year. So that's why I'm thinking teams like the Browns, I don't think the Browns, because you've got Shador and you've got Gabriel there, I think you'll give them the chance next year to see how they can do. But somebody like the Jets that need a quarterback, the Steelers to an extent, because we don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. Teams like that where you need a quarterback next year, and you're not going to pick up your rookie in the draft. I think Mariota could easily do a job for them. The Cardinals, we don't know what's happening with Kyler Murray there, and Joe Brissett's there at the moment. So there is plenty of teams in the league. I think Mariota could go in and be a QB1. He's not going to light it up, but he's going to do a better job than what the teams have got. So I think he gave it, it's shown last night, I think, might have been a few teams set up and look at him. So that's all I'm saying on Marcus Mariota. All right. On to the next coach. All right. So this one I'm throwing at Brian. I'm going to throw a bit of an outsider betting here for you. All right. So he's took over a team who I think didn't have much of an identity, didn't really know where they were going. They had some pieces, but they weren't really doing massive with those pieces. He's now elevated this team to be sitting at the top of their division. Yes, the top of the division. The much vaunted Indianapolis Colts, so we're going to run the AFC, who we're going to take it all the way and be AFC champions, are now not leading their division. Liam Cohn and the Jacksonville Jaguars are sitting top of the South. Currently sitting at 8-4, and their record includes wins over the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Chargers. Their losses, I'm going to say, so they lost to the Bengals in week 2, right? Nothing to be too ashamed of, but the Seahawks and the Rams and a resurgent Texans are the only teams that have beat them. Liam Cohn is doing a very good job down in Jacksonville, isn't he?
Liam Cohn's a very good coach. We saw it last year. Now, and this is a bit of a backhanded compliment, but it is meant to be one. I'm a little disappointed with Cohen this year, purely because I expected the Jags to take more of a step forward this year. And yeah, you can turn around as well. We've all watched the ghost of Brian Thomas Jr. And nobody quite understands how you go from the season that he had last year to what we're seeing this year, the drops issues. It's like he's got the yips. But yeah, for me, no, I'm a big fan of Cohen's anyway. I've watched what he's done with quarterbacks across the league, and you're kind of going, yeah, you are a QB-friendly coach. You bring the best out of them. And even despite the issues that the Jags have been having at receiver in terms of trying to get some, consistent playmaking out of their receivers, T-Law's looked good. This is probably one of the better years that Trevor Lawrence has had, certainly over the last number of games. And if he had some functional wide receiver help, because and it's not like, I always hate talking about drops because they can be really hard to judge sometimes. Was it a drop? Did the ball just have too much zip on it? Was it a half step forward, a half step? Whatever. We know that. No, some of these are drops. And I'm sorry, when you are hitting Brian Thomas Jr. like in the hands and it is hitting the turf, that's just on your receiver. And it's not been once or twice. This is an every week issue the Jags are facing. So when you take all of that into consideration, yeah, I got to say, Cohen's doing a really good job. They've got Strange back now. So maybe they start to utilise Strange. But yeah, he did. Played well. Is he the receiver they're looking for? Is it Jacoby Myers? Are they going to get the best out of Myers?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They've seemed to, since Jacoby Myers came in, he's became the wide receiver they wanted Brian Thomas Jr. to be. I mean, he had 6 catches for 90 yards last night. Myers. It's not just he's not just the numbers, he's making big catches for them as well. I mean, since he came into this team, he's got 245 yards off of 18 catches. That's means averaging 13.6 yards a catch. He's got 2 touchdowns. Brian Thomas Jr., who's played 9 games and 32 catches, has 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
So do you have a new WR1 down? I think Sarah will be loving this. Two reasons she wasn't on tonight when I brought this topic
on
up.
the show. A Jags loving.
So I just think the Jags, I don't know, the Jags just seem to have turned a bit of a corner. We weren't sure what Jags were going to get, say, with those losses. They lost 3 out of 4, but those, like I said, were to the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Texans. They've then went on a 3-game winning streak. They'll beat the Chargers, they beat the Cardinals, then they beat the Titans. Big game next week, though, against the Colts. Huge game against the Colts next week, because after that, they've got the Jets, the Broncos, the Colts again. But out of the last 5 games, if they can even split the series with the Colts, they only need to hope that they get a result against Denver and they could win the division.
Yeah, easily. And when you look at the Colts running, you got to say you would think the Colts are possibly going to be dropping a game or 2 as they go forward. You've obviously got the games against the Jags. They've got the Seahawks, the Niners, and the Texans in there.
Yeah,
who do you back to win more of the run out? It's got to be the Jags, surely.
Yeah, I think if the Jags can at least split the series with the Colts, then they're favourites to win the division, I think. And rightly so. I think, I mean, they did a great performance last night. 25-3 against the Titans. Yeah, Titans, as we know, aren't doing much this year, but the Jags, they've done enough. Never went for 230 yards. They've done 2 touchdowns. They've done enough to win the game. They just points on the board in the first 3 quarters and nothing at all. Kept the Titans to a field goal in the first quarter, and that was it. Do you know what I mean? The defense, that's the thing about the Jaguars defense. So as much as Liam Cohen is an offensive-minded coach, they've got a good defense. We've got some pieces on that defense. Devin Lloyd is great at linebacker. And obviously they had him out. He missed a few games as well. So, yeah, I think Sarah has got every right to be optimistic about the Jags this season. I think they could, and they probably will go and win this division, unless they have some sort of random collapse, which the Jags can be prone to, is the problem.
It's just crying out for a random loss to the Jets. It's just going to be, they're going to sweep the Colts, and they're then going to lose to the Jets and the Titans.
Yeah, and then that'll be Colts will steal the division the last game. Yeah, and what will actually happen as well is it'll somehow knock them out the wild card as well, because of the way the wild card in the AFC is going as well. That'd be such a Jacksonville thing to happen. I'm sorry to say that, but anyway, we hope not. So yeah, Liam Cohen, I don't think he's going to win, but I think he deserves to be in the conversation. I don't think he's going to be one of the top 4, but I think he deserves to be in the chat in terms of at least being given the plaudits for what he's done with the Jags this season, because I think he does deserve it. Right, so we have 2 people left to chat about. So what I'm going to do first is going to come to your one first. So I know that people are going to say, as soon as you say this person's name, the words that will come out of everybody's mouth that are watching and listening is, but what about their strength of schedule? That's exactly what's going to come out of their mouths. Forget about that for a second. This team from the last few years were absolutely rudderless, going absolutely nowhere. With the quarterback, we didn't know how good he could be. He was much vaunted coming out of college. Mike Vrabel has went into New England and he has transformed that franchise. Not just in terms of results, he seems to have everybody running through a brick wall for him. So they're currently on a 9-game winning streak. Talk about Mike Vrabel.
Do you know, I suppose this is a good one because it's a bit of a foil to the point I was making earlier about the Broncos. For me, the Broncos just don't, there's something about the way that they don't pass the eye test. And when you watch the Broncos play, there's something about it, and I can't tell you what it is. I can't be rational and give you a stat or a thing where I say, oh, but look about this, their third down conversion rate. It's not about that. There's something about the eye that they just don't pass. The Patriots pass the eye test.
Yes.
You watch the Patriots play, and yes, they have. You look back at their record, and they've got good wins against the Bucks, the Bills, and there is the end of the sentence. The rest of the teams that they have beaten, yeah, it is. It's the Jets, it's the Browns, it's the Falcons, the Titans, Saints, blah, blah, blah. These are not what you would call premier opponents. The remainder of the year, there aren't many other premier opponents sneaking their way into the patch schedule. Yeah, the Bills reappear and all the rest of it. We will talk about them later. But this is, you know, I really hate this. It's the Patriot way. And it's like the return of the Patriot way, where they look like a team. They don't look like a good offense. They don't look like a good defense, a good special teams. They look like a team. And it's, I suppose, a wee bit, if you haven't seen this, folks, is something, get yourself out onto the socials. You'll find it really easily. And it's Vrabel in the tunnel.
Yeah,
and he's in the tunnel. All the players are running by. Everyone's getting a greeting. Everyone's getting recognised. And they all look so excited. They are all like, they're coming off a win. So it's easy to look excited when you're winning. It just looks like a team that has got a team. They've got a sense of their own identity. They know what they're playing for. It's a free hit for the Pats this year. You know what? Well, it was a free hit before the season started. No one expected anything out of New England. Now they look like they are, and I said that last week or the week before, the Pats are going to win the East. That is locked.
They've won it. They've already won it. They've already won. I mean, they win tonight. When they win tonight, because it's the Giants they're playing. When they win tonight, they'll go back number one in the AFC as well. There's many games that they're so many games ahead of the Bills already. Just give them it. Just give them the title now and wrap up the
win
AFC.
Tonight, they are. Here's the bit at the end that makes it very, very interesting, though. They win tonight. They go to 11-2. Bills are sitting in 8-4. Game after the Giants is the Bills. So yeah, they win that. They have they're playing for the division. So they win tonight. Week after, it is a game for the division. So
at home as well.
At home, and they've already beaten Buffalo. They've already beaten Buffalo once.
Yeah.
So Vrabel's done great things with that team.
I mentioned Drake May. So Drake May's sitting. You mentioned the eye test. Look at the numbers test as well. Number 3 on yards this season already. If he passes for 232 yards tonight, he will go number 1 for yards thrown this year. That's crazy. And he's in the top 5 in the league for all the quarterback metrics in the league. So that doesn't matter who you're playing. He's come up against the Browns with Myles Garrett, and he's still performing. Yeah, the schedule might look a bit soft in terms of their opponent, but as a quarterback, he's still getting out there, putting the numbers up, getting the consistency. The only thing, and this actually I think makes it look even better, is that he has taken the 4th most sacks in the league this year as well for quarterbacks. Behind Cam Ward, Geno Smith, who you are wiped out. Justin Herbert's the other one. So he's taken the 4th most amount of sacks in the league this year, but he's still one of the best in the league in terms of his numbers. Those sacks are not making a difference. On the other side of the ball, they have a top 5 defense for points allowed, a top 7 defense for yards allowed. They're doing it on both sides of the ball. It's not like they've got an offense that is running them to the title or a defense that's winning them a championship. Both sides of the ball are absolutely unbelievable.
And that's the exact thing that we need to look at, though, because, and it's, again, Broncos comparison. It's the bit where people say, but it's the Broncos defense. And there's a little bit of merit to that argument. It doesn't really weigh up the deeper you look into it, but there's some merit there. We all get it. It's a complete Patriots team. Are they more complete than the Broncos? I don't know. I think if I'm really comparing them and I'm saying which I think is the better complete football team, I think I am slightly siding Broncos and I don't think there's much in that between the two of them. Maybe I give it to the Broncos because we've seen the Broncos do it against tougher opponents. The Patriots didn't pick their schedule. They can only play the teams that walk out in front of them every Sunday. The Broncos have just had to do it against harder teams. But it's some job that Vrabel's been doing this year. He's pulled a team from the doldrums. You know what I mean? As I've said, no one expected anything out of New England. And he's made them not just relevant, but like Super Bowl conversation relevant.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is with them as well, you mentioned there about they can all pose for themselves. They've had one game against a top tier team and they beat them, and it's the Bills. Do you know what I mean? So, like, the thing is, Peter says we don't know. The Patriots could be that good. We've just not had a chance to see it yet because they've not came up against. The next 2 games are going to be after tonight, the Bills and then the Ravens. That's when you're going to see what this team is made of. Are they going to go out and beat the Bills again? The Ravens, they are a bit inconsistent, but it is a Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry Ravens. If they can go and beat them in Baltimore, then you've got to say, okay, the strength of schedule argument goes away because you've beat arguably 2 of the best teams in the league 3 times out of 3. So I think it's going to be interesting. The 2 games they've lost. They lost to the Raiders in the opening game, which nobody knows what's going to happen the first week of the season, and they lost to the Steelers in the 3rd game of the season. Again, they probably weren't really in their groove by that point, so you can kind of 9 games unbeaten. Yeah, I think Mike Vrabel is definitely in that top 2 for conversation for Coach of the Year. So there's one left to go, and this guy's my favourite to win it. His team are legit, and I know you're going to agree, but you don't want to agree because we've had so many arguments on our group chats about this team. The Bears are legit. This franchise, we've seen the Bears struggle for such a long time. However, have they finally found the right person to lead them to success? I think the answer to that is an overwhelming yes. He's turned their offense into a top 10 offense. The rushing game is number 2 in the league for yards and number 5 for touchdowns per game. That is stupidly crazy for a team that, and I think last night was the first time they've had 2 running backs rush for over 100 yards since 1980.
And what happened in the 1985 season?
Bears
Super Bowl. Bears
Yes.
Super Bowl. Yeah, do you know, right, okay, because this is the one where I can have my caveat, because I was very, very big last week in talking about how Bears, if you want me to take you seriously, had to go and you had to get a win against the Eagles. And you went and got a win against the Eagles. So I acknowledge that I take the Bears seriously. The Bears are a deep playoff run contending team. You cannot say any differently. It is hilarious that the Bears are sitting there on 9 wins and are contending for the number 1 seed, and the Niners are sitting on 9 wins and possibly won't make the wild card. That's slightly different. It's one of the little oddities we love about the league. But no, for me, it's that run game, and it's where you're quite right, because it's Ben Johnson that we're talking about here. Ben Johnson is the difference maker. He has walked in, he has looked at his locker room and looked at what he has available to him and went, right, how do I maximise this to get wins out of this team? And the answer, run the ball straight down the other team's throat. And my God, he's doing it well. The Bears' run game is frightening. This is great because we're not talking about a team that has CMC, that has Jonathan Taylor, that, you know, I mean, any of these elite blue chip things. It's DeAndre Swift. And to be fair, Monaghan does actually look like he could be a guy. Like, he might actually
a 7-round pick, Kyle Mungai. He's one of those, like Jerome Bettis, just run straight through the middle as hard as you can and get the yards.
Angry running. He might, like, you know, I'm the jury's not out yet, or the jury's still out, sorry, whether or not in years to come we're talking about him like CMC and JT and all of these other players. Yeah. We know who DeAndre Swift is. We know exactly who that guy is. We've seen a lot of tape, and he is not him. But he is in a system, he's with a coach that's showing how to get the best out of his players. And this is where my backhanded compliment comes in, because I am still not having that Caleb is him, but Caleb is doing what he needs to do in the offense that he's in. He's doing what Ben Johnson asks. It's a little bit my comp. Do you know, I'll give you this, and some Bears fans will like this, some Bears fans won't. This is my comp for Caleb. Caleb is Brock Purdy. He is going to play well enough, and it's fine. He'll do what you're asking him to do. If you put a game on his shoulders, and I don't buy it. I don't buy if you have got, you know, a cut. You need the kind of thing we always say when it's the Chiefs and they're down by a score with, you know, 30 seconds and 2 timeouts, and you're like, but it's Patrick Mahomes. He can make this happen. Bears are down like that. I am going to say the game is chalked. And yes, I know Bears fans, you've got some comeback wins this year. I know this. I do know. But yeah, for me, Ben Johnson, 100%. Incredible job this year. He will be in, same as Vrabel. These two are in the Coach of the Year conversation. And both of them, you can take your strength of schedule arguments, because the Bears are facing that just the same way that the Patriots are. Bears have had a slightly tougher run than the Pats, but it's still not been what you would call an elite run. Although the Bears does get harder now. This is where the Bears do actually. The end of their season is nowhere near as straightforward as the Patriots is. But Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel, they are both in the Coach of the Year conversation. And yeah, you can take all of your ifs, your buts, your maybes, and you can chuck them out. These two deserve to be there.
Yeah. I mean, they've basically on 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 9 games out of 10 they've won, and the loss they had was to the Ravens. So they've got 9 out of 10 wins. They lost their first 2 games of the season, and I guarantee, and I think Grant, or Paul Grant was one of them, was, oh, here we go again. 2 games, we lost the first 2 games of the season, but then they went on that remarkable run, and they beat us, and it just started spiraling from there. Like you said, though, next 5 games, Packers, Browns, Packers, Niners, Lions. This is when we're going to see, are they a playoff team? These are the teams, if they need to play Green Bay, well, obviously the playoffs it'll pan out the way it pans out, but the likelihood is in the playoffs they could meet a team like Green Bay or the Niners or the Lions, and they're going to have to show that they can win these games. And that's, I mean, you said it with a quick chat about the game there, so you said the Bears have to go and beat the Eagles, and they did. They probably should have won that more comfortably than they did as well. That scoreline should have probably been more. They just were a bit inconsistent.
Yeah.
But as you said, their run game was unbelievable. I don't know. I think it's a combination of both. I think their run game was phenomenal, and the Eagles' run defense was horrendously bad.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And it is a bit of both. We were talking about it during the game, but you know what I mean. Would the Eagles care to consider defending the run? That they are allowed to have run blockers, and yeah, it was that mix of both. But yeah, as I said it last week, you want to be taken seriously, you need to beat playoff caliber teams. The Eagles, despite all of the slagging that we are giving the Eagles are still sitting there. They're still sitting at 8-4. This is great. It's like people are talking about the Eagles as if they're toast and they're like some terrible, terrible team. They're 8-4. The Bears have got 4 hard games left this year. You know what I mean? Let's not pretend the Browns game's going to be tremendously hard for Chicago. The Browns game's a banana skin game, is actually what it could possibly be for the Bears. But I don't think it's going to matter hugely. They're going to be in the postseason. It's just a question of, are they a 1 seed? Or are they just in by virtue of kind of, beating up on Green Bay, which they really need to do? One of the bits, and I was looking at this, Dan, if you take Caleb's yardages and you parse it out for this season, right? What is he on pace for? He is on pace for 4,083 yards. Average yardage, you put it out over the full season, 4,083. I'm going to call it now, Bears fans. You are going to beat the Packers twice. You're going to sweep them. You're going to beat the Browns. You're going to beat the Niners. You're going to be in the playoffs. And then you're going to pull Caleb for the last game against the Lions just to wrap him up to make sure he's okay and he's not going to get the 4,000 yards.
No, do you know, it's actually going to be worse than that for the Bears, right? Because it's the Bears and they just can't get anything going for them, right? He's going to need about 20 yards in that last game, and he's going to start the game and get injured, and he'll be out for the rest of the season. That'd be the most Bears thing that could possibly happen, is that he needs 20 yards to get that, and the Bears have got they need to break this hoodoo of the 4,000 yard quarterback, and he'll go in and he'll get injured. That would be the most Bears thing that could happen.
399, calling it.
if he take a sack, that'll make him lose the yards, and then that'll be him done for the season. So we'll finish the Ben Johnson conversation, and I'm going to still ask you a couple of questions about the game that they had against the Eagles. Ben Johnson, for me, I think wins Coach of the Year. Even if they don't go on and get a deep in the playoffs, I think he's done enough with what he had and he started with at the start of the season that he should win the Coach of the Year. Right, on the game, we mentioned the Eagles' run defense. Right, what's going on with the Philadelphia Eagles?
They're so... I was talking about players in the yips earlier. They are so hit and miss. They're so inconsistent. But the thing is, if you look back over, let's just call it the last 4 games, right? So you go all the way back to when they played the Packers and won. They beat the Packers 10-7. They then went and beat the Lions. Good teams. It's the Packers. It's the Lions. These aren't, this isn't the Browns. 16-9. They then lost to your Cowboys 24-21. And they lost to the Bears last night 24-15. What is going on with this offense? It just cannot get going at all. They put up points on the Giants. They put up points on the Vikings. But other than that, you are going all the way back to the start of the year until we can actually find a point where this offense is doing anything. And you look last night, we talked so much about the Bears run attack. This is Eagles football. Eagles football is tough, gritty, smash mouth, hand it to Saquon, watch him hurdle backwards while doing a kickflip over DBs, 56 yards on 13 carries. It's the most un-Saquon displays ever. Yeah, you did. And before the Eagles fans get all angry and I get banned from Philadelphia, Yeah, AJ Brown put up 132 yards, 2 TDs. He had a great day. Finally we're seeing some performance there. It's just so inconsistent. It looks like something's just it's not clicking at all for Philadelphia. Yeah, I don't know. You look at a team like the Bears, we talk about how they've got this idea of their identity. They know who they are. They're playing to their strengths. The Eagles were doing that. And then, am I going to blame AJ Brown for this? I think I'm going to blame AJ Brown. The Eagles had their identity at the start of the year. They were running the ball. They were smashing through people. Yeah, you had the dinky donkey passy stuff to keep the chains moving. That was really it. And then, then we started to see all of AJ Brown and his cryptic philosophical tweeting. I mean, if a tree falls in the end zone, does it score a touchdown? And all of a sudden, the performances just seem to be that little bit disjointed. It's not a football team. And it's weird. I don't know what the reason for this is.
So I read a thing from the Eagles. There was an Eagles fan on social media today that is comparing this year to 2023 on the offensive side of the ball. There's been so many calls for them to fire Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator. Basically, he's getting the blame for this offense just not firing all cylinders. And I read that this is a very similar situation to 23 when they had Brian Johnson, who got criticised for his play calling. And the theory is that the players just don't believe in Patullo. They just can't buy into what he's trying to do. And basically, that's what the problem is. That the offense is just not firing because they don't trust the offensive coordinator. The same thing happened with Brian Johnson. He didn't get fired at the end of the season. What do they do about it? Is it too late to change it? Does the head coach take over the play calling?
They're 8-4. You know what I mean?
I get that.
But they're on the slide. Playoff bound.
But they're on the slide. If this Eagles team goes into the playoffs today, do you trust them to win their first game?
Wild card round? Yeah, because they might get quite a soft opponent.
Well, looking at the teams that are in the potentially going to win the wild card, you're talking about a 49ers, you're talking about a Seahawks. Eventually, the Bears or the Packers or the Lions, I would not take them to win any of those games.
I don't know. I think we're maybe being a bit too. I've got a little bit more belief in the Eagles than that. I do. Okay. The Eagles have got. Shock horror, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. A Cowboys fan does not believe in the Eagles. I'm glad you were all here for this revelation. You look at the Eagles running, right? They've got Chargers, Raiders, Commies twice, and the Bills. I see 3 wins. I see maybe 4. And then who knows? So they're gonna be there. They will be top of their division. Sorry, Dan. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be throwing out your OC. You can't be throwing out an OC when you're 8-4. Good God!
But you were 8-2.
Nah, I'm still against. Yeah, you lost to. Okay, the Cowboys won stings. I'll absolutely give you that. But we've just spent a whole segment talking about how well the Bears are doing. We've just spent a whole segment on how good the Bears are being coached. Both of these things can be true.
I'm just wearing my blue tinted spectacles. That's all that is. All right. In terms of, I mentioned at the start, Brian, this was Thanksgiving weekend. So I set you a question out today. I hope you've had time to come up with this answer because I know you've had a busy day today. So the question I set Brian at the start of today was, if he could pick any 3 NFL personnel, current or past, dead or alive, to invite to his for Thanksgiving dinner, who would he invite and why? Brian, who's your 3 people?
My 3, and I've resisted a complete heartthrob pick, and I've went.
You not picked Baker?
No. Baker was the first man on the list. I've not picked Miles. Because I don't think I'd get near the turkey if Miles was in the same.
Fair point.
Miles' defense and the turkey would be too strong for me. Baker is number 1. Baker has got to be number 1. Number 2. It's got to be Gronk. Imagine being sat between Baker and Gronk. This is my table. I want to be in between Baker and Gronk, and I want to be sat across for Jameis.
I never forgot you'd pick him.
That's what I want. I want Jameis is saying grace. Jameis
you'd be there all night.
No one else is getting a word in, and then I'm going to be between Baker and Gronk because I think that is just. We're all going to be absolutely wasted by the time we've started the soup. Everyone's going to be drunk, and it's just I'm having a good fun time.
You do know having Gronk at your table as soon as Jameis closes his eyes to say grace that Gronk's going to have his hands in that turkey.
Aye, absolutely.
So you went for the fun aspect of your Thanksgiving. I went for people who I want to spend time with and hear their stories about the game. That's who I've went for with mine. First of all, Mr. Thanksgiving himself, John Madden. I think you'd love to sit down and hear stories from him. The amount of stories that you would get from John Madden about the game, and there's the amount that you would learn from him. I would love to have him on. My next one is a bit of a homer pick, and because I want to hear all about the glory days, because it has been a long time, is Jimmy Johnson. I'd love to listen to the Jimmy Johnson stories for the Cowboys winning Super Bowls. And the last one, and this one is basically because I'm going to have my dad at Thanksgiving, so I need to have this guy as well. And that's Ed Hockley. I just want to hear all about those guns, and I want to hear about him as from a referee's perspective. Obviously, having me that kind of have that bit of interest in the game and watching that side of the aspect of the game, I'd love to have Ed Hockley at my table as well. So a lot of stories and a lot of sharing of things that have happened, like for me, rather than getting blind drunk with Gronk, which probably sounds a bit more fun for most people.
You're going to leave the table wiser, but I'm going to have a better night.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. So with that in mind, let's have a quick chat through the Thanksgiving games for this week, Brian. So I really enjoyed this slate of games this year. It shaped up on paper to be a great set of Thanksgiving games, and it did not disappoint with 2 divisional games. And of course, the biggest draw on Thanksgiving, as always, is the Cowboys, who were playing the Chiefs at home. No, that's the most watched game of the year, Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So it's not me being, my blue tinted spectacles have come off. Let's start. We'll do it in chronological order, Brian. We've spoken about the Bears and we've spoken about the NFC North and how hard that has been this year. Give us your thoughts on the Packers and the Lions this week.
I was really surprised at this game, if I'm honest. I thought that the Lions not handily beat the Packers. The Packers are a good outfit. The Packers are playing some good football this year. I just thought the Lions would be far, far too strong, and I was very, very wrong. You know what I mean? All the fantasy players out there having their Thanksgiving ruined within a quarter when Amon Ra went out. But, cometh the man, cometh the Jameson Williams, and he put up incredible game. Great game from Jameson Williams.
Crazy.
It was 144 yards and a touchdown. Fantastic. But at the end of the day, Packers just played really good complementary football. You know what I mean? They just put together a really, really good one. And you talk about kind of clutch plays being the difference, particularly in divisional matchups. 3 out of 3 fourth down conversions. I like to look in games for a wee stat that I think tells you a bit of a story about the game. Yeah. And for me, that's a big one here. There was 5 total fourth downs played. The Packers had 3 and converted them. The Lions had 2 and converted neither. And that, for me, it's not the full tale of the game. Of course it isn't.
Yeah.
But it's one of the big telling things that shows you, the Packers came out to play. And Jordan Love, you know what I mean? Take a bow. He played some really brilliant football.
Yeah. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, very clean game, no sacks. He just didn't get near him. 18 of 30, so good performance for him. So yeah, I mean, I think it was one of those ones you thought, granted, it could have went either way. Packers were probably more impressive than I'd say than I expected, because they are now 8-3-1. But the Packers did look like a team that wanted to win the game. And the Lions are inconsistent. I've also just looked at the Lions there, right? The Lions are on this run since they played the Bengals many weeks ago. Win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Which is bad news for Thursday night because they play the Cowboys. I hope that run does not continue, because they would be due to win. So the Lions' problem is inconsistency.
Yeah,
this is. And I say this at the Bills many times, have the Lions missed that window where they had that chance to go and be the NFC team? Because this year teams have stepped up and other teams have become in kind of more even with them. They kind of, actually that chance to be dominant and be the team, has it went? I'm not saying it went forever, but that opportunity was wide open for them last year.
No, the window is not closed. The Lions
I'm not saying it's closed.
An elite team. They have been inconsistent this year, absolutely. They have very much struggled with consistency. As you say, over the last bit, it is a patchy record. We'll wait and see. They also have the misfortune of being in an incredibly strong NFC North. So, you know what I mean? We are looking at a team that's sitting 7-5 and a mile out of the playoff considerations. Oh, they might as well be the Browns. Maybe not quite, Detroit fans. But yeah, and it is just that. It's tough when you are in a division that's doing really well, and then you go and you lose divisional games, it makes it sting even more. So, yeah, you know what I mean? I don't know. This is one where we'll wait and see. This is all about that. Do they have that late season surge in them? You know what I mean? We have got 5 games left in the year for them. They have got 1 divisional matchup. Sorry, they've got 2, but the Vikings don't count. We've got 1 divisional matchup left that really matters to see, can they drive towards the playoffs? Is this, because it's the kind of season that for a Lions fan you'd be really sore about if you don't make the playoffs this year. With that roster, with the record that you're putting together, could be finished, you know what I mean, you could be finished by Christmas, and that would be a better one.
They've got the Cowboys on Thursday night, and then they've got the Rams. If they don't win any of the two of them, and the Bears and the Packers, in fact, Bears and Packers can't both win their next two games because they play each on one of them. But let's just say they win. Let's just say the Bears win two, the Packers win one. The Lions are then suddenly on a slippery slope in terms of even getting to the wild card. So it's going to be interesting to see that one plays out. Yeah, so right next, I said it was a draw of the week, and it was the Cowboys against the Chiefs. It was a tight game, but I'm going to say it was a well-deserved win for the Cowboys at 31. Before the fans came out, Chiefs came out and say it. No, the refs did not cost you the game. There's been some narrative on social media across this weekend that the Chiefs fans believe the refs cost them their game. What cost them the game was a few different factors, and I'm going to put them on the table for you now. Brian Schottenheimer called an absolutely amazing game. Some of the plays that he called at the right time, and I was very sceptical at the start of the season with Brian Schottenheimer, and I didn't want it to end. I thought there was so many other better options out there, but completely changed my tune. I know the record we've got at the moment isn't great, but from what I see from him in terms of the buy-in from the team and the players and him as a head coach, and that performance the other night, I'm all in on Brian Schottenheimer. Patrick Mahomes was hit 9 times and he was sacked 3 times. That defense for the Cowboys has stepped up hugely in recent weeks. Going to put it down to the trades. The 2 trades that we got have made that team get a bit of identity. Quinn Williams coming in and Wilson coming in just seemed to have given them a bit of a spark. I'm not going to give Matt Eberflus the credit for it because I still don't think he's a great defensive coordinator, but the defense has stepped up in recent weeks, so I'm going to give him that as well. CD Lamb bullied McDuffie all night long.
Badly.
It wasn't even. It was for McDuffie. He must have walked off there thinking, "What just happened to me?" Because CD Lamb absolutely bullied him in terms of catches, in terms of routes, in terms of taking him out of the game, pass interference penalties. He just couldn't handle CD Lamb all night.
He couldn't. CD Lamb played an absolute incredible game, and he did. McDuffie is a brilliant player. You know what I mean? McDuffie is the kind of player that we are used to seeing just eliminate players, star players, from whole games. And no, just no. CD Lamb, you say he had his number, call it whatever you want. He just absolutely ran him ragged all night. I'll tell you the bit with the KC fans, I know the refs cost us the game or what. No, they didn't. Going 2 quarters without scoring cost you the game. You cannot go punt, 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 punt unless you play in Cleveland. It's not allowed. And don't get me wrong, I have got my play of the weekend, my play of Thanksgiving was the Patrick Mahomes magic that he wrought in that game. But at the end of the day, Mahomes is Mahomes, and everybody knows who Mahomes is, and can't do it all. You need to get more of a kind of united team around them. For me, big thing with the Chiefs, particularly at the minute, is it's going to be that run game or that kind of lack of a run game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On Kareem Hunt, the ghost of Kareem Hunt, getting dragged out to run 58 yards in 14 carries. No idea what, okay, well, I know he had the MCL issues, but Pacheco has been, I'm going to say the injuries he has must be significant enough that I'm kind of querying whether he should be playing at all, because he has looked an absolute ghost of the player he is. And then that's it. Other than that, you just say, right, okay, Rashee Rice, great receiver. Kelsey, we know what he can do. We know these things. It's not enough. You need to have both sides of the ball. And the Chiefs just don't have it right now.
One thing we see with the Chiefs, and I noticed, and actually I've just noticed this now, watching the Chiefs over the last couple of weeks, and I don't know if it was last week or the week before we debated this, that Taquan Thornton seemed to be becoming a bit of a threat for them down the field. Not a single catch. I don't even know if he was targeted. Doesn't give it the stats I've got don't have targets. Not a single catch recently. I know he was under returns, but not a single catch the whole game. And he's looked really good for them recently. Not sure what happened there with him. You mentioned your player of the week. My player of the week is in this game as well. George Pickens absolutely hurdling over the Chiefs DB. His numbers, he's 6 for 88, right? So his numbers are looking good. But I said this the other week, and I'm going to continue to say to George Pickens, his numbers are great. It's the catches he's making when it matters. That one for the hurdle took us right down the field. It was a great catch. And then on the drive to set up the winning field goal, he caught a slant and he just went and he just took 3-4 defenders away from him. I texted us on the group chat and I said, is there a better player in the league at the moment to catching the slant? I don't think it is. Stu tried to say Jamal Chase, but Jamal Chase is off the boil at the moment. But every time Josh Pickens goes on a slant, he's catching it. And I don't think there is anybody else in the league. And I think we're now starting to see the George Pickens that everybody thought he could be. He's now got a quarterback that can get him the ball. He's now in an offence it's now starting to motor. He's not got the inconsistency that he had in Pittsburgh. And he probably feels it, and as I said earlier on at Brian Schottenheimer, he's probably getting the love he needs from his head coach as well, that he kind of needs. So I think it's no debatable we will sign him on a new contract before the end of the season, or in the off-season. Yeah, unbelievable. I'm not quite ruling us out of the playoffs yet. No, we are there. What are we now? We're only a game and a half back in the Eagles. Is it a game and a half to again because of the tiebreaker? Yeah, I think we're
I don't know. You've got the run-ins tough. You've got Vikes and Giants to soften it. Lions, Chargers, Commies in Washington. That could easily be 2 and 3. Will 8 wins be enough? You need the Eagles to give you something for me.
So you think the Eagles can beat the Commanders twice, but you don't think we can beat them once?
I think it's more likely that the Eagles beat them once as well. I don't think the Eagles sweep the Commanders necessarily, but I think that the Eagles, put it this way, do I think the chances of the Eagles getting 2 wins out of their last 5 games is higher than you getting 4? Yes.
Okay, that's probably a fair point. I say if we can win the Thursday night against the Lions, that'll have us beating the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Lions 3 games in a row. Not many teams can say they've done that full stop, never mind in the one season. So yeah, I think I'm positive about whatever happens for the rest of the season. I am positive about where the Cowboys are now going. A few weeks ago, I was a bit unsure of what was happening, but the way I've seen the team, I don't know what's changed. Something has changed within the team to make them look like a team again, and maybe it's just evolved. We're getting used to it with Brian Schottenheimer and everything that's been happening, but we'll look like a team. In terms of the Chiefs, Brian, yeah,
I think they might chop the year. Honestly, we've kind of we've been up and down on the Chiefs all year. Are they back? Because they did string together, and yeah, okay, the Raiders are in the middle of it, but they did string a couple of big wins together. I just think the loss to the Jags, the losses to the Bills and the Broncos, I think that's your difference. Obviously, a loss to yourselves as well. I just think they've left it too late. Again, you look at the run, Texans, Chargers, 2 tough games. Titans, joke. Raiders, joke. But the Broncos is sandwiched there as well. I just don't see it. Similar to yourselves, the Chiefs, realistically, if they're going to have a serious shot of making the playoffs, they need to win out. Could they? Yeah, they could. They're the Chiefs, when they do these things. I don't think it's that likely, though.
I mean, they've got the Texans next. Texans are on the up. Chargers divisional game at home. Who knows? Titans will they'll chalk it up. Then get the Broncos at home. So the 2 divisional games are both at home. So I get 3 divisional games because they've got the Raiders in the last game, but like the Vikings, I'm not counting that. So they have got 3 out of the last 5 games at home, and their 2 away games are the Titans in Vegas. So there is a chance there they can win it, but I just can't see it now. The issue that the Chiefs have also got is I don't have the exact numbers here. Not only are they 2 games back in the Chargers in the division, they're about 3 games back in the teams in the wild card above them due to head-to-heads as well.
Yeah.
They talked about that on Thursday night, where the Chiefs are now, I think it was 2 or 3 games back on the teams that are in wild card spots because of the head-to-heads. I think the Chiefs are done. I think they're cooked for the season now. I don't think it matters what happens. There's too many other teams in the NFC that have got better records and are playing better. The Chiefs need a lot of dominoes to fall their way to even get a wild card spot. I just can't see it now.
Yeah, agreed. I think this is going to be a year without Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, which is not something you would think you'd be saying in any particular season. But I think it's likely this year.
Perfect. Right, the last game of Thanksgiving, Brian, and then we'll look ahead to next week's games. One for you, NFC North, Bengals, the Ravens. Yeah, I think a lot of people expected the Ravens to take this game. You went against the grain and you picked the Bengals to win this in our pick 6. What did you make of the game?
Do you know what's a really interesting theory to try? See if you have a team that's got a really, really incredible running quarterback and a team that's got one of the best running backs to ever play the game against a team with a terrible run defense. See, abandoning the run, that is absolutely the way that you should game plan this game. Like, I did back it. I had a sneaky feeling with Burrow coming back that I actually thought this game was going to be one of those really nutty games, really high scoring. We were going to see, absolute chaos and madness from all quarters. The Bengals were high scoring. They ran up 32 points. The Ravens, though, they abandoned the one thing that was going to give them a chance. And yes, I know they were, they were only down by what was it? It was 12-7 at the half. Like being, they were out of it and they were gone. But they did. They just abandoned the run, and I've no idea why. I've no idea what the thought going through anyone on the Ravens sideline was.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I mean? Okay, the big bit, you need to acknowledge it. 5 turnovers. Losing the turnover battle that badly is always going to be a tough ask for any team. But yeah, what I mean? Joe Burrow came back, did Joe Burrow things, 261 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Looked brilliant. That connection between him and Chase, for me, is the best quarterback wide receiver pairing in the league. I don't think many people would particularly contest that. And yeah, they just, for whatever reason, the Ravens abandoned the key to the game. For me, that's what this is. It's a coaching failure. I don't necessarily think the Ravens players need to look too hard on themselves. Yeah, okay, turnovers, yes, I know. But for me, you look at the Ravens and you go, the Bengals, sorry, and you go, run it down their throat and you will succeed. And then to not run it when you have Lamar Jackson and you have Derrick Henry, it's criminal.
Yeah, the Bengals had more rushing yards than the Ravens, which is unheard of. And see, I'm just going to take an example of it, how you say abandoned it. So they only ran 22 times, right, for 123 yards, but 46 of those yards came in 2 runs. Keaton Mitchell had an 18-yard run. I actually thought it was longer than that until I looked at the stat, because it looked as if he was running forever. And Derrick Henry had a 28-yard rush. Lamar Jackson had an 11. So just about half of those rushing yards came on 3 plays. I don't get it. Like same as you, I don't get it. I don't get that play calling at all. But on the flip side of it, I texted us on the group chat and I said, where's this Bengals defence been all year? Because I thought the Bengals defence did step up. I don't know if it's because, and this is something that Stu talks about, they were getting off the field. Their offence wasn't basically going 3 and out constantly, and they weren't gassed, they weren't constantly on the field. They were getting a rest because their offence was doing what it should be doing.
Yeah, definitely. My only caveat that I kind of throw at that, and yes, before I go any further, I'm well aware I'm talking about Joe Burrow here. He threw the ball 46 times. Oh, like that's a see if we were talking about, like some 48-52 game, or one of those really wild mega scored games. Okay, you get it. 46 passes or 46 pass attempts for 32 points. You know what I mean? This is, yeah, Bengals fans, enjoy your win. You know what I mean? Any win against a divisional opponent is brilliant. Jesus, I'm a Browns fan. Any win's important. I do not see this. The Bengals media went full tilt. We are back. Bengals Super Bowl. Joey Burrow is going to lead us the way. No, that defense has still got far too many holes. Yes, they played better. You played better against the Baltimore Ravens passing attack, and they still had Isaiah Likely putting up 95 yards on you. I'm going to say that you're going to get found out more than you're going to succeed with this, even with Joe Burrow. And yeah, we've done the bit. You look ahead, and I'm not going to mention a couple of the games, but okay. Actually, sorry, I take it back. So there's only one game worth mentioning. I won't mention it because we're going to talk about them in a second. It's the Bengals have got a soft run-in, and even then, I still don't see them doing it.
I think the problem for the Bengals is they need the Ravens to drop 2 games. But the Ravens have the Patriots, the Packers, and the Bengals in Cincinnati 3 weeks in a row.
Steelers twice. I can see the Ravens sweep the Steelers.
But I get that, but the Bengals only need, if the Bengals can win out, they only need the Ravens to drop 2 games. And there's 3 games there they could drop. That's assuming the Bengals win out, because they have 2 tough
There's
games.
a big ask there.
One of those games is the Ravens. So that counts as a double dunner, because the Ravens drop a game and the Bengals gain a game. It's the old our football 6-pointer. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
So let's put it. I still think the Ravens do take the division, but that performance, if you're a Ravens fan, probably worries you from the coaching and the play calling situation. If they revert back to their normal game, then I think they'll be fine. But let's just see what happens next week for the Ravens. Actually, I don't think we've got that down as one of our games. So who the Ravens got?
It's one of my games. It might not be one of yours.
So anyway, right. So I still think the Ravens will take the North, but I think there's a chance that the Bengals somehow sneak in. The Steelers, I'm wiping the Steelers out. The Steelers are done. And for me, the Ravens will sneak it, but I'm not going to say, I'm not as confident as I was 2 weeks ago when I said the Ravens will run the table and win the division. Not anymore. Right, let's quickly, Brian, let's wrap up. Let's move on to games for week 14. So I'll pick. No, in fact, you give me your two first. Give me your two games for week 14. What games are you looking forward to seeing this week?
Right, okay, this is good because I won't steal your game. I wasn't going to steal your game anyway, actually. My two big ones, Bengals Bills. I think this is going to be one I'm hopeful, cautiously, that we might see your kind of both teams dropping 40 plus points on one another. In this, I think it could be a good one for the neutral. Bills, I said it last week, the Bills need to come and they need to play angry. We didn't see that tremendously this week. Bengals, they are playing against a rush team and they don't have a rush defense that's particularly good. So you're going to need Joe Burrow to ball out. If you're going to depend on any quarterback in the league to ball out passing it, it's going to be Joe Burrow. So I think that one's going to be a cracker. And then the other one, just because you talk about games of importance, Bears-Packers.
Yeah.
Bears-Packers is going to be huge. Such an important game for the division, for the playoff picture, all of these things. I mean, this is going to be one of those ones where it will be a huge decider in who finishes top of the NFC North. And are you then going to say we're seeing a Green Bay team that could be sat on 8 wins potentially if they lose, falling out of playoff contention? So, yeah, for me, they're my two.
I've spoken about this game already, but you've mentioned the North song we bring on it. For me, Cowboys-Lions on Thursday night is massive for both teams.
Yeah.
For the Lions, if the Lions lose this, I'm going to say hypothetically, the Packers win your game. The Packers and the Bears go to 9-3. The Packers obviously have the tie as well with us. The Lions drop to 7, I think that takes them out of playoff contention if the Lions lose this week and the Packers win. It's crazy that you're going to be 7 and you're
7-6 and you're out of playoff contention.
Yeah,
it's mad.
So I think the Cowboys win. I said I'm not ruling us out yet, but for us, I mentioned it. We win this game, it's setting that marker down. Look who we've just beat. We're on the way a team that's building towards what's going to happen next season. I say if we can win it, I'll give me a bit more hope. The hope's small at the moment. It might get bigger if we win that game, but for me, this game is vital for the Lions. The Lions need to win on Thursday night, or they could. It's the same as I think it was the same as the Chiefs last Thursday. The Chiefs had to win to want to be in the playoffs. The Lions now have to win. So the thing is with the Cowboys at the moment, and that sounds really daft looking at it from a Cowboys point of view. There's no pressure on the Cowboys. The Cowboys are always under pressure, and obviously the fan base and Jerry Jones, there's always that pressure. But from an actual aspect of the Cowboys can go out there and play their game freely without having to worry about if we lose this game, it doesn't really change much. If we win it, then excellent, it's a confidence booster, maybe get a chance. The Lions are at home and they have to win. The pressure on them is ridiculous. So that's a great one for Thursday night. I'm looking forward to that. And the other games are so many. There's so many games to pick from this week. I'm going to go Colts and Jags. Has to be Colts and the Jags. That game is set up to be an absolute cracker. We spoke about both teams. Well, we didn't speak much about the Colts actually. We spoke a lot about the Jags, and we kind of mentioned about them taking over the division. So I think that game is absolutely going to be an absolute cracker. It's now going to be an absolute damp squib. Now I've said that.
Yeah, 3.
As long as it's for the Jags, Sarah will not care. The Colts lost to the Texans last week. The problem with the Colts at the moment is teams have now, I'm going to say, found a way, are kind of stopping JT. They're stopping JT and they're having to try and win the game through the air, and it's not really happening for them. Daniel Jones was carrying that injury. I don't know if that was an impact, but Jonathan Taylor was 21 carries for 85 yards and no touchdowns. So if you seem to stop the run game for the Colts, you seem to be able to win games. And we spoke about the Jags earlier on. So that one I'm really looking forward to as well. So that's my two games. Just to give it a shout for a couple other games, you get the Texans and the Chiefs. Again, we've said I think the Chiefs are out of it. The Texans are 7-5. If they want to get in that contention with the Colts and the Jags, they need to win that game as well. So that's the only other one that I would say is worth watching this week. Right, Brian, we've had a slightly extended episode tonight, but I think we've covered a lot of good things tonight. So thank you for joining me tonight.
Maybe this is why that scheduling guy doesn't put us on together there.
Yeah, I'm going to go and speak to him in the mirror right as soon as we're finished. So yeah, Brian, thanks for joining me tonight. Great discussion as always.
As always, mate. Thank you very much. It's been good to talk ball.
As always. So that brings us to the end of this week's show, folks. As always, thank you for watching and listening to us. As I said at the start, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube and all your podcast platforms. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Make sure you catch all latest podcasts and our content. Until next time, we'll see you soon.